How we doing out there, everybody? Here with you all for our second video of the term for our fourth week here. So, as of this week, we are actually concluding our unit on short fiction. So you had four stories to read for a couple reader responses, and then you got to pick which of the final two you wanted to read, either Charlotte Perkins' Gilman, The Yellow Wallpaper, or Nathaniel Hawthorne's Young Goodman Brown. So that is your first analysis essay topic, literary elements found from those stories. And that's going to be the capstone assignment, what you guys have just turned in as of this Sunday, the 28th. That analysis essay. And there are 3 analysis essays throughout the course of the course. To repeat myself there, this is the first one on short fiction that you just turned in. The next one will come at the conclusion of our poetry unit. Speaking of which, that's a good place to pivot to our next unit. First was short fiction, next is poetry. So if you look for the assignments for this unit, it's going to be in lessons and assignments, of course. You'll see the poetry unit. And I would recommend looking at those how-to guides, how to read and analyze a poem, because poetry can trip some people up just with the difference in line construction, just the optics on the page. You're not reading a story, you're reading a poem. There's usually compression in a poem, words don't necessarily go all the way from left to right. Within the width of a paper, they will go on to the next line, and the way words are structured and the different sentences can be a little jarring. Of course, we also have figurative language, metaphor, simile, personification, etc. So poetry for some can kind of seem like a brain teaser or a puzzle, or you've probably heard or made the complaint yourself, as I and many have. I don't get it. Why read poetry? What's the deal with this? And the short answer there is, well, poetry is, I think, supposed to, ultimately it's supposed to reveal something meaningful to you. And the vehicle by which it does that is pleasure. Poetry should be pleasurable. You can enjoy poems on so many different levels. Appreciating the language itself, how the poet implemented various figurative language devices and techniques, the imagery that is evoked, the kind of musicality a poem can provide. So, when you read a poem, don't bash your head against the wall thinking you have to get it all in immediately, instantaneously. Upon reading it the first time, I get this profound insight this poet is trying to reveal to me. And it's not always a profound insight. It could be something humorous. It could be something light and playful. And poetry, too. It's not all serious business all the time. So we have 2 poems you'll find in our textbook this week. One is by Billy Collins, who's a very, very popular poet, kind of in the pop culture. I wouldn't quite say pop culture, but he's well known more than more obscure poets. His language is kind of conversational. It's easy to surmise the meaning. Language is straightforward. The meaning of the poem isn't going to elude you and frustrate you probably so much. Collins is a good poet to read for folks who are maybe a little hesitant or apprehensive to really take the full dive into the ocean of poetry. And his poem we're going to read is called The Lanyard. You find it in our textbook in the poetry unit. And he uses that symbol, that lanyard, as kind of a gateway for memory and remembering things from his childhood and his relationship with his parent, his mother, I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly. And then we have another poet, very different. Now, both of these poets are, 20th, 21st century, of course, our second poet, Maya Angelou, is no longer with us, but within that kind of modern day context, she is certainly more current than, Shakespeare or a great number of other poets. So Billy Collins in the poetry unit, and then we are going to have our Maya Angelou poem. So this is module 5 in the textbook. You see the lanyard there, and then you see right above it is Maya Angelou's On the Pulse of Morning, which she wrote in 1993, and that poem, she read it aloud, commemorating the swearing in of President Bill Clinton in 1993. So Maya Angelou is part of that tradition begun with Robert Frost during Kennedy's inauguration of poets kind of inaugurating or introducing the president, the newly elected president, to the nation with a commemorative poem. And hers is called On the Pulse of Morning. You could click it there. And there are references to Mr. Clinton, President Clinton as well. This poem has a lot of figurative language, a lot of references, allusions. So I'd be interested to know your thoughts on both of these poems, Billy Collins' The Lanyard and Maya Angelou's On the Pulse of Morning. And then you'll see it's a reader response. You could read this information in the announcement and in the assignment post. The reader response in the poems, it's another 3-paragraph affair due Sunday, asking you to reckon with various poetical elements in those poems and offering an evaluation at the end as well, like you did with the short fiction reader responses. So that will be due Sunday, that reader response. And with the reader responses, guys, you might work together, perhaps. Just be very careful about not replicating, duplicating your friend or classmates' word for word, writing, because I do run a plagiarism checker. It's not always terribly reliable, because some things can't be accounted for in a plagiarism checker, like coincidence, or some of you guys, I know you're writing well enough, having facilitated the course in 1101, but I don't have a breadth of knowledge of knowing your writing from say 3 or 4 years ago and watched it grow and develop to today. So not trust anybody, but people could be getting things past me here and there. Like maybe you found some summary or some analysis from some expert online, and you're just kind of repackaging what that person wrote in your reader responses. I try to catch it as much as I can. I know we all cut corners. We take the path of least resistance whenever we can, but I just want to, and this isn't to call anyone out in particular, but just continue being honest readers and analysts in this course, if you'll please, and writers, most importantly of all. Okay, so yeah, make sure you're reading each week's announcement. They're deployed at the beginning of each week, so that we are now in week 4. And you see here that in addition to that reader response due Sunday is a discussion forum due Friday. So discussion forums, blogs, journals, when those are posted, they're usually due the Friday, and then the reader response or essay is due that Sunday of the same weekend. So our discussion forum kind of asks you to just reckon with poetry. Like, what have been some of your struggles having read poetry in class or maybe recreationally for your own pleasure? Any poems that you like, don't like? You could find it all in the discussion forum. Discussion forums, you have to make an original post. And for full credit, you also have to respond to another person's post. And try to mind the word count when you do this as well. 150 words per post, your original post, and responding to another student. I'd recommend writing as much as you can. You certainly don't want to just write a sentence like, good job, Timmy, or good job, Tanya. I agree with your your findings on this poem. You want to give a substantive kind of conversational dialogue response, which ultimately could provoke further discussion. So that is due Friday, that discussion form. And then Sunday is the reader response. Again, moving on to our new unit, which is poetry. After we are done with our poetry unit, we'll move on to our novella unit. Novella meaning a short novel. And ours is The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. So that is what is coming up. But we got another slate of poems. We got some Shakespeare sonnets, and we have our analysis essay due at the end of the month. So we'll be reading some poetry through the month of February. So again, discussion forum Friday, and then reader response on The Lanyard by Billy Collins and on The Pulse of Morning by Maya Angelou. Any questions? Of course, instructions are between the announcement and the assignment posts. But any further questions, feel free to email me. Thanks for all your hard work so far in the term. And I look forward to continuing working with you guys this spring. All right. Enjoy your week. Peace.